This Graham Platner situation is a mess. And before we talk about Nazi tattoos or any nonsense Oppo research that has been dumped on Graham Platner, I want to show who Graham Platner is, okay? Let's analyze who he is first, and then let's talk about what his opponents, either from the right wing or his Democratic opponents, wants us to believe he is. So this was a post that Graham Platner made about his service and about his love of war. He said, "Small wars are pretty enjoyable. It's the big ones with days of artillery fire and human brutality that take the fun out of fighting. But small wars, and Iraq and Afghanistan are indeed small wars, provide the rush of small combat actions, along with the intellectual challenge of building personal relationships and infrastructure within the local community. Small wars are thinking wars, which I much prefer over the bloody slugfest of great power conventional warfare. Oh, and the revolution because I'm American." Graham Platner is telling you who he is here. He loves war, but not just any war. He loves the type of war where you kill civilians. You know, the small wars like Iraq and Afghanistan, thinking man's wars. Wars in which the population can't really fight back, where there is no armies to actually, threaten your life. So you can just go about, slaughtering the civilian population. Listen, Graham Platner probably isn't a good guy. I hate to break it to you guys. Just because someone says universal health care and comes out as an anti-Zionist does not mean that this is a good person. Does that mean that the people of Maine should not vote for Graham Platner? I'm not saying that. Because as always, in America, the voters are presented with terrible options. You have to vote for a 70, almost 80-year-old Democrat, or you have to go up against a Republican who has sold the country out to a fascist government right now. So the choices in Maine are bleak. But I'm telling you guys right now that this guy, he served 4 tours of duty with the Marines. And you know what he did after that? You know how much he hated the war in Afghanistan and Iraq? That after coming and serving 4 tours, he signed up to be a mercenary for Blackwater. At one point, okay, and I'm going to get to that towards the end of the interview, but at one point, he was actually a guard at Abu Ghraib. He wasn't there while the torture was going on, but this is the type of person and character that Graham Platner is. So let's move on to his tattoo. Now, I have not heard Graham Platner speak before today. I don't know Graham Platner. So I don't want the opposition research to unfairly bias me towards this man. Now, I have heard a lot of his progressive quotes. So I know that his politics, and even online, and this has been going on for years, the guy really is a progressive of sorts. He called himself a communist. Okay, that's something. But this tattoo that he has right here, the Totenkopf, deeply disturbing to me. Deeply. Not everyone who hates Israel for the same reasons that progressives do. Progressives hate the state of Israel right now, even so far as to be anti-Zionist, is because the current state of Israel is an apartheid state, right? Some people, like Nick Fuentes, for example, they hate Israel because they don't like the Jews. Okay? They're literally anti-Semitic. And I'm not saying that Graham Platner is anti-Semitic. But what I am saying is this man served in the infantry in the Marines, whereby he went to Croatia to get the Totenkopf put on his chest, right by his heart. And for 18 years, he told us that he didn't know what it meant, that it was just skull and bones. He just wanted to look tough or whatever. I mean, come on, man. So the first time I heard him speak, he lied. The very first words I ever heard this man utter, he lied to me. I am so sick and tired of this country having to choose between the best of two evils. I mean, are you mean to tell me in all of the great state of Maine, there's not one other progressive that doesn't have a history of loving war and putting Nazi tattoos on their body? Is that what you mean to tell me? So let's take a listen to what this Totenkopf is.
The death head symbol, or Totenkopf, was a prominent emblem used by the Nazis, particularly associated with the SS, Schutzstaffel, one of the most notorious organizations in Nazi Germany. The symbol features a human skull and crossbones, a macabre image that conveys death and danger. The Totenkopf symbol itself predates the Nazis, dating back to the 18th century, often used by military units to represent death, courage and sacrifice. In Nazi Germany, it became associated with the SS, specifically the Death Heads Division, the 3rd SS Panzerdivision.
By the way, this symbol, the soldiers who wore this symbol, they were literally in charge of running the Nazi death camps, exterminating Jews.
On Totenkopf, which consisted of men that were involved in guarding concentration camps.
So they guarded the concentration camps. Meanwhile, Platner was a guard at Abu Ghraib. Now, he was not there during the torture at Abu Ghraib. But oh my God, this is so bad. This is so bad.
For the Nazis, it symbolized fearlessness, loyalty to Hitler, and the brutal, unflinching nature of the SS. The SS used the Totenkopf as a badge of honor.
And could I give him a benefit of the doubt? Maybe in a different time or a different era, maybe. But as the Trump administration is literally engaged in a fascist takeover of democracy, of ending the experiment of American republicanism, it's hard for me to say as a progressive, let's choose a guy like Graham Platner to represent us, to represent anybody. I mean, listen, the Senate is not the place for this type of stuff. I'm sorry.
And it was worn by concentration camp guards, such as those in Auschwitz. The presence of the skull symbol was meant to evoke a sense of terror and death, solidifying the SS role in carrying out mass executions and maintaining the terror of the Nazi regime.
Now, this is what they want me to believe. So let's listen to Platner here explain why he got the Nazi tattoo. And then I'm going to share my opinion about what I feel about this. And by the way, the first time I heard his voice was this apology.
2007, when I was a young infantry sergeant in the Marine Corps, myself and some machine gunners I served in Fallujah and Ramadi with were on our 3rd deployment. We were in a naval vessel and we pulled in for a Liberty port in Split, Croatia. We went ashore to do the thing that young Marines do, which tends to be carousing and sometimes getting tattoos. We wanted to get something that represented our jobs, our service.
Yeah, no. What was their job? What was the service that they were providing to America? Did Iraq attack the United States? Did they have weapons of mass destruction? What was the purpose of them even being there? So, this pride, look, don't get me wrong. I am grateful for service members and everything that they do for this country, but there's no honoring glory in murdering civilians in Iraq or even soldiers in Iraq, because guess what? They were defending their country from an aggressive, it makes me sick to my stomach. So even listening to the guy talk about his service, Fallujah, look, I don't care about that. That's not helping your case with me. I mean, maybe it'll help your case in Maine or whatever, but with me, that does nothing but hurt you with me.
Service fighting in Fallujah and Ramadi as machine gunners.
As machine gun. Who was on the receiving end of those machine gun rounds? You think about that.
Went ashore, we found a tattoo parlor after a fair amount of heavy carousing, and we found a tattoo on the wall, a piece of flash that looked like a terrifying skull and crossbones. We thought it looked cool, and so we got it.
So what represented his time and service in the Marines in Fallujah and Ramadi was a skull and bone. See, this is why I say I don't think that this guy is a Nazi. Let me just come out and say that. There's no suspense here. He's not a Nazi, you know what? Most modern neo-Nazis never do anything. They sit in their basement at home and they pretend to be badasses. This guy is literally he and his compatriots literally killed people in Iraq. So that's the disqualifying part for me. I mean, it isn't so much this tattoo. And now it does to me symbolize something. He thought that his job and his duty was murder. That's why he got the skull and bones, to look tough, to look badass. He was in the infantry. That's what they do. They kill, they murder. But he wasn't murdering. He was not murdering people to protect the United States of America, because the United States of America didn't have any defensive interests. Now, I know that he was just a soldier, but when you come back after that, you know what a normal person would do when they came back from something like that? They wouldn't want to go back again. But this guy did tour after tour after tour. And when it was all said and done, when he was done serving his country, he signed up for Blackwater. He signed up for a private military organization that has committed war crimes. That's what he chose to do. Be a soldier of fortune, a mercenary. Most people, because you suffer PTSD from stuff like that. And Bernie Sanders said that Graham Platner does suffer from, that he has been in a dark place. And I understand that. But the way that I've heard him talk about his service, like he mentions it every time. I've heard so many clips today of him talking about his service in Fallujah, Ramadi. And, and I read this clip about how there's the rush of small combat actions. He gets a rush, a thrill from battle. That doesn't sound like a person who's traumatized by war. It sounds like a person who enjoys that sort of stuff, And to find pleasure in war, that's not my type of, listen, I wouldn't even want soldiers to do that. But I definitely don't want senators, United States senators, that enjoy war to be given any kind of political power. We have enough insane people in Congress. We have an insane president. We have a corrupt Supreme Court. Do we need another warped mind to give them political power? I'm telling you that Democrats will regret this. Progressives especially. You think we regret John Fetterman? You think Fetterman's bad? This guy has the potential to be way worse than a guy like Fetterman. Don't give him political power. Don't put him in a position where he's like Susan Collins and he serves term after term after term, and it's impossible to get rid of this guy. I'm telling you, you're creating a monster here.
I've had this tattoo for the last 18 years. I re-enlisted into the United States Army with this tattoo, where I was screened for hate and gang-related tattoos. I worked for the State Department as a contractor, where I got a full physical, which included screening my tattoos. I've gone through life with this thing, taking my shirt off, having photographs taken, videos taken. I've been very, very open in my life with the fact I had a skull and crossbones on my chest, because that's what I thought it was. It's come to
okay. I want to get
my
to this
attention
part.
that
It's come to my attention just now. Oh my God, it's come to my attention. Oh my God, this is a Nazi symbol. Oh, I just found out about it. So I had to just now cover it up because I just found out about it. If that's true, then this guy doesn't have the mental capacity to serve in the U.S. Senate. So either he's lying and he's known for years that he's had a Nazi tattoo right above his heart, or he is so stupid and incompetent and lacking of judgment that he never knew. Either way, he should be disqualified from the Senate. And I'm going to tell you another thing. The year is 2025. Whether or not it's my neck. You think I would look at something in the mirror every single day and I would never Google it. I would never take a picture and throw it in AI or do anything, right? I would just never know. I would take off my shirt for years. I'd go swimming. I'd hang out in the military. None of the military people knew. So the whole time when he was in Fallujah and Ramadi and all this type of stuff, everybody saw his chest. Everybody saw the tattoo. Nobody knew. Nobody in the Marines knew. Nobody in Blackwater knew. None of his friends and family, nobody knew, and he never bothered to look it up for all these years. Do you find that believable? So the first words out of this guy's mouth to start off his U.S. Senate campaign, in my opinion, he's lying. Now, I know he said other stuff. He's been campaigning in Maine already. This is the first time I've ever heard of him. And the first time I've heard him speak, he's looking dead at me in the camera right now and lying to me. I can't trust him. I don't trust him. He's lucky that I don't live in Maine, because I wouldn't vote for him.
It has a stark resemblance to a symbol that is used by neo-Nazis.
It doesn't have a resemblance to it. It is a symbol used by Nazis, not even neo-Nazis, by Nazis.
And I want to say that was not the intent at all. And the idea that I've been going around with something like that utterly horrifies me. I know that symbols like this can be incredibly damaging to people, and the idea that I've had it all these years and it could have been read like that is incredibly troubling. I have lived a life dedicated to anti-fascism, anti-racism, and anti-Nazism.
Actually, that's not true. He's lived a life of war. That's been his life. The multiple tours of duty, the working for Blackwater. Blackwater has been his life. You know that beacon of anti-racism and anti-fascism, the private military organization. So, I mean, that's his resume. I mean, his resume isn't, anti-racist. He wasn't marching in the civil rights movement or something like that. I mean, come on, let's be honest here. Whether or not his politics, and I have no doubt that people can change and that his politics might really be progressive today, I believe him. No, I mean, I'm not accusing him of lying about that. Maybe he's for universal health care, maybe he's against Israel, the Israeli genocide of God, maybe he's for all of the great progressive values that a guy like me and Bernie Sanders would be for. But his life's mission has not been anti-fascism. His life's mission has been serving the interests of the military-industrial complex. And I don't trust him. If he gets to the Senate, he's going to betray us. I just feel it in my heart. I don't have any evidence. If you said, produce evidence, support the fact that this guy is going to betray you, I don't have it. I have a gut feeling. I don't trust the guy. For all I know, he's a plant. He's a right-wing plant meant to infiltrate. Because listen, everybody knows that progressive politics is the future. That moving left, especially in this political climate, is the way. Mamdani is showing that in New York. So for all I know, this guy is some Manchurian candidate. I don't know. The one thing I know is that in the great state of Maine, there has to be somebody better than this. There just has to be.
I think that racism and anti-Semitism are no place in our world. For that reason, I have gone and gotten it covered up. Last night, I went to a tattoo parlor and I got this to cover up the skull and crossbones. It's a Celtic knot with some imagery.
By the way, the symbol on my channel is a Celtic knot, just because I thought it would look cool. Yeah, neo-Nazis use the Celtic knot. I mean, But okay, I get his point. Look, I believe the guy isn't a Nazi. I do not believe he didn't know that was a Nazi tattoo. I don't believe it. I think that the circle that he used to hang out with in Blackwater, they don't care about white supremacy because they're white supremacists. That was his circle. That was his group of friends. The people he served with in the military, most of them didn't care that it was because that's what they were doing in Abu Ghraib. They didn't. I mean, in a way, they were guarding their own type of concentration camp. But instead of Jewish people, they just had terrorists, which was basically any Iraqi they arrested. So I think that this guy is going to be very problematic. You know what? I don't want, I had more stuff I wanted to talk about, especially the Majority Report's terrible take on all of this. But the video is running long and I don't even know. I'm probably not even going to edit this video. I'm probably just going to play it as is. But, I do want to leave everybody with one thing. He did not serve. So he was not in Abu Ghraib at the same time that Abu Ghraib was going on. Because his opposition, I mean, if they're releasing this now, a year out, just imagine what other Oppo research they have on this guy. But a lot of BS is going around about him being a guard at Abu Ghraib. He wasn't. So there's a claim that says, like, oh, he was at Abu Ghraib during the time and he was a guard while they were torturing people. That's not true. So Platner was not there at that time. There's no sources tying him to Abu Ghraib that way. So a lot of that is just BS. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out there because a lot of people are, look, the bottom line here, AI says there is no verified sourcing right now that Graham Platner served as a guard at Abu Ghraib. Now, I heard conflicting evidence on that. Now, I did hear evidence that he was at Abu Ghraib. Okay, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what comes out as far as that. But in any case, even if he did serve at Abu Ghraib or if he didn't serve at Abu Ghraib, he was not there while the torture was going on, which is the most important point, in my opinion. So yeah, so take that with a grain of salt. So everything, take it with a grain of salt if he was at Abu Ghraib or not. Even if he wasn't at Abu Ghraib, my overall point about his military service and his quote still remains. This was a guy in the infantry. He was a machine gunner, and he enjoys. Look, small wars are pretty enjoyable. He enjoys the small wars. Small wars in which there is no military opposition. There's only civilians that you have to subdue. That's what he likes. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm not a big fan of this guy, Graham Platner. You're not going to pull the okie doke on me by saying universal health care. I see that coming from a mile away. And it is surprising to me that a lot of these guys, like the Majority Report, who they cover politics every single day, that's their job, that's all they do, can be fooled by such a guy like this. This guy is not somebody that the Majority Report should be risking their credibility, in my opinion. But that's all I got on this topic. Man, this video was longer than I thought it was going to be. Hopefully I can cut it down. I don't know. But I'm so sleepy right now because I've been working all day. And I don't even know if I have time to edit this video. So if you've watched this video to now, man, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Don't be fooled by this stuff because the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
The city lights, they've lost their glow. A quiet hush where crowds would go. The jukebox sings a broken tune while shadows dance beneath the moon. The skyline's proud, but it feels so low. The world spins fast, but time moves slow. Dictator in a bow tie, so debonair, smiling like he doesn't have a care. Promises wrapped in velvet lies as freedom fades before our eyes. Dictator in a bow tie taking his throne, and somehow we're dancing alone. The paper prints what they're told to say. The truth is sold, locked away. A speech, a cheer, a staged parade, and dreams dissolve like lemonade. He tips his hat, the crowd obeys. We're all actors in his play. The band still plays a soft refrain, but every note feels like a chain. A saxophone weeps, the brass sighs low and loves a tune we used to know. Dictator in a bow tie charming the room, turning hope to whispers of doom. Dancing on a floor of borrowed time, every step feels like a crime. Dictator in a bow tie ruling the night while liberty fades out of sight. The music stops, the silence roars. Behind closed curtains, he locks the doors. Dictator in a bow tie, oh how he grins, but a dance like this nobody wins. The paper prints what they're told to say. The truth is sold, locked away. A speech, a cheer, a stage parade, and dreams dissolve like lemonade. He tips his hat, the crowd obeys. We're all actors in his play. The band still plays a soft refrain, but every note feels like a chain. A saxophone weeps, the brass sighs low, and loves a tune we used to know. Dictator in a bow tie, ruling the night, while liberty fades out of sight. The music stops, the silence